Alright, good evening. We've got a non-gaming stream tonight. Madness, is it not? So what I've done over the past week is that I put out a survey or questionnaire, whatever you want to call it, to people that were watching on Twitch and on YouTube to actually get some feedback on the channel. This is the first and only time I've done something like that in all the years that I've been streaming. So the first thing I should probably address is why did I do this and why am I talking about it today? Man, this all sounds like stuff to be apprehensive about. Don't sweat it. I was planning on making a video about this, but that felt way too professional. I'm much more comfortable with doing it live. So, as I said, I wanted to get feedback on the channel. Now, on my channel, a huge pillar of what I do is I do things my way. I stream the way I want to, I stream what I want to play, I stream it in the way that I want to play it. And if that means right in the middle of a hugely popular stream, suddenly fading it into Stronghold 3 and having a mass exodus of players, even when some of those players are necessary, then so be it. Point is, we do things my way, but it's easy to get too conceited when you think about that. So I genuinely wanted some feedback from you, the people, about what happens on the channel and what we can do to improve things. Of course, I'm still always going to do things the way I want to, but maybe what I want to do is improve the experience overall. Now, another question is, why am I talking about it now? There was actually a lot of demands that I saw in response to the video I made about the questionnaire, and some videos I've made following up, asking what were the results or what is there to talk about. So I figure there's probably some distinct advantages to keeping this information close to my chest, but I'm frankly not seeing them, so we'll just go through it. And if you have anything you want to ask, just ask it towards the end of the stream, because I'm just going to plow through this without worrying too much about chat until we get to the very end. Except I see one comment straight away saying no concessions to the plebs. There we go. So first off, we put in gender and age. There really isn't much to grasp from any of this for me, but it made a great way of filtering, because there were some joke answers, not as many as I'd expected, but I found if I filtered out to all the female children and old grannies, it was pretty easy to get rid of the joke answers, so there's not really anything to react on these. It also matches up with other demographic information that I have. Nationality was kind of interesting. Loads of burgers and a dangerous number of swamp Germans, but kind of to be expected. Again, I have these numbers elsewhere. It was just reassuring to see it matches up with things that I already knew. So what else do we have? We have the questions of when people started watching the stuff that I've put out. It was pretty interesting the amount of people that said they've started watching in 1444, and all the other people that have been watching either from the future or from before I even started streaming, if a little worrying, but it's kind of heartwarming to see the sheer amount of people that have stuck around. All in all, the amount of people that said that they've been watching since recently is kind of small, which is good, you know. I'm very happy about building a community. One of the dreams I had way before starting all this up was I would love to have an IRC channel that kind of fed itself, and I like to think that something even better than that has been built. I was curious where a lot of people came from, because I do not do any advertising at all for my streams. Once upon a time I had a link in my Paradox forum signature, and I even removed that. So there's the question, how do people keep finding me? And lots of people just said we found you on YouTube. But I should put out a bit of a thanks or an unthanks to Arumba, who appeared in a lot of these answers. Kinda goes against the viewer reduction strats that are a real thing. But thanks for the question mark on that one. But yes, most of the people coming in through YouTube there one way or another. Although some, yeah, from the Paradox forums. That After Action report on the Three Mountains, that one came up quite a lot as well. Fairly drew in a lot of people early on. Interesting. So next up, are people watching on Twitch or on YouTube? Unsurprisingly, this first went out on Twitch, where most of the answers came in there, and then when I put up a video on YouTube, suddenly the YouTube one pulled ahead massively. So yeah, significantly more people actually watch what I do on YouTube than on Twitch, which again does not go against the numbers. But it would be a dream come true for me if I just didn't have to put things onto YouTube anymore, because it's a huge pain in the arse. It usually rips away some hours of mine on the weekend, very few times when I actually have some time on my hands. But I guess it's gotta be done, right? It's gonna be done regardless of this, unless it's suddenly said that nobody watches on YouTube, in which case that would tell a very interesting story, wouldn't it? And I put on this to find out who doesn't even watch. There are some people there that I hear genuinely just fun post. So, there you go. Can you scroll down on where people discovered you? I mean, yeah, there's a lot of stuff to scroll through here. I also want to point out that I have read every single response, at least as of 3 days ago, to this questionnaire. There were 4,766 responses. It was a lot of reading. I was up pretty late. But if you're going to actually answer this obnoxiously long survey, then I'm going to read it. So, what streaming hours do you or would you prefer? This is difficult to act on because realistically, these ones at the end here, basically 4 PM till midnight, pretty much the only time zone I have to work with, given that I do work and occasionally sleep. And yeah, unless the numbers were heavily skewed against what I can do, nothing was going to change here. I feel like I'm saying a lot of nothing was ever going to change, but believe me, this stuff is interesting. Now here's a contentious one, and people thought it was a trap, and maybe even rightfully so. Twitch chat rules, they are strict and heavily enforced. Do you think this is better or worse for your experience? Now, when I first put the questionnaire up, the divide was pretty much just between worse and better, with worse generally holding like 10 to 15% compared to better. As soon as this went to YouTube, a huge amount of people didn't care, so it's kind of reassuring to know that people that are watching after the stream is done don't really care about it, because I am a huge believer in the strict rules we have for Twitch chat. The mods rule with impunity, and I really mean that. If a mod does not like you and wants you removed, then I am very happy for them to do that. That's not to say there aren't some valid concerns about this, but I've seen Twitch, I've seen how bad this place gets. I absolutely deny any reality in which my chat room becomes like regular Twitch culture. So strict rules are here and they're here to stay. But that doesn't mean there aren't some concessions that could be made. For example, this was a great place where people could actually vent their feelings about it. Is there anything you would change in the Twitch rules or enforcement? No, no, nope, no, nope, not applicable, nope, nah, not really, nothing, nope. Nah, not really, nah, none, no, not really, not at all, nothing, don't care, nah, no, no, nah, nah, seems fine, nothing in particular, nah, no, no opinion, don't care, nope. I can't believe this got 2 responses here, though. Okay. Yes, the oppression will continue. But like I said, there are some concessions to be made and some actual things that people brought up that I can agree with. For example, if you do find yourself banned, there isn't really much recourse for getting back in. And I do believe if somebody has been banned and they've been out of here for like a year, sometimes even more, and people have, and they're still watching and they're like, you know what, I kind of want to rejoin this community and I can kind of see why I was kicked out, then, you know, maybe there should be a better thing to do other than the very cryptic way of making your way to the pretty much, I wouldn't say abandoned, but certainly very quiet subreddit where you can go, hi, my name is XXX Burger Killer 234 and I want unbanned pretty please. Once upon a time, I went through the logs every evening, checked for everyone that was banned, and checked to make sure that I was happy with them to stay banned or not. I simply don't have the time. The chat logs are nearing on 3 million lines long. I can't read all of that. But I do what I can, so there's some thought to be put into that. There was also quite a few comments about early warning, like, okay, I got timed out, banned, whatever. I felt it was a bit harsh. Well, harsh is what it's meant to be. I'm not sure if there's anything to change there, but I will give it some thought. Bruni XD says, you say that, Jake, I got unbanned by you a year ago now. And, well, would you look at that? The system kinda works. Okay, what else is there to say here? Let's start talking about the content. Oh boy, this is where the fun really kicks off. Nitro, notably a mod, is in saying early warning is the 10-minute timeout. That is right, that is the early warning system. You should consider yourself lucky that you get the timeout, because usually when I'm involved, it's a straight up ban immediately. Okay, so content time. Which of the following do you enjoy seeing on the channel? Choose all that apply. So somebody could answer everything, somebody could answer nothing. The overwhelming majority come in to watch Europa Universalis content. That's pretty expected, so I'm willing to just disregard that. There's nothing really to learn other than keep doing that grand strategy stuff. Close, well, not close second, but second by a close amount is Hearts of Iron 4. I've only run, what, 3, 4 campaigns in Hearts of Iron 4? I rather enjoy the game, but I don't feel like I get the same out of it than I do, say, a Europa Universalis stream. I need something with an edge, like the Horses Only campaign. God, that was quite a lot of fun until something War Mergers. City Builders really close behind Hearts of Iron 4. I like that because I love City Builders. Correction, I love good City Builders. So Caesar 3, Emperor, Stronghold Banished. We're going to see more Caesar 3 because there are maps in the making. We are definitely going to see more Emperor because, oh, that game has got me by the Kokoro. Stronghold, we can only hope we don't. And Banished, I think Banished is done and done right. Even I watch my own Banished video, it's kind of relaxing to watch. Stellaris, kind of unpopular in terms of grand strategy votes here. You'd expect it to get quite a few for being a grand strategy, but still it lags behind quite a few other things. Now here's a statistic I love. Look amongst yourself in the chat. For every 4 of you there, 1 person wants more Patrician 4 on the channel. I don't remember promising we wouldn't have more Patrician 4. I'm just saying that this survey has opened my eyes. Now, unsurprisingly, nobody really comes for the DDR, but this is where the pillar of I do what I want really stands up on its own. It doesn't matter if nobody really cares about the DDR, because I care about it, and I will continue to do it. The roguelikes are pretty popular, although that may or may not be boosted by FTL being the list. I'll probably touch on it later, but I can't get over how many people, especially in the comments bit, put in how much they loved Into the Airlock. Now I was planning on putting that series on ice for about a year and probably do a return to it, but like this is an example where the survey can influence things. Like a lot of people want to see it again, and I too have an itch to play it some more. Then there's the likes of Rogue Survivor and Death Road to Canada, fantastic roguelikes, a lot of them, or roguelites depending how purist you want to be. The weekly one-shot, and it kind of goes in hand with the 2 Hours of Hell. I mean, that's stalwart support behind them, and it didn't matter where along the list they were going to be. I was always going to do more of them, but it might shape what I do with them in the future. I'm very happy to continue doing these weekly, and I know some people are coughing and looking between themselves when I say it weekly. RPGs, lewd games, they both don't get much exposure around here, so not a lot of love for them. I am kind of itching, like, if I did not do my job at Paradox, okay, let me rephrase that. If I didn't go to work at Paradox each day, and I had a lot more time in the world for streaming, there'd be a lot more variety that would certainly include RPGs. I've got a hankering to, like, play Disgaea, for example, or plow my way through Final Fantasy. Of course, there's the annual playing of Terranigma. There'd be more of that, but at least this shows me that I'm not disappointing huge amounts of people that want to see more of those. Lewd games I'd always like to do more of. It's, as with all of these, it's a question of time, isn't it? I only have so many hours in the week that I can be streaming, so there's that. Hey, the music cut out, and whenever there's no music I get a little nervous, so let's get some, yeah, some lovely Europa music. trucking is oddly unpopular here. A lot of people come back and say, more trucking please, please more trucking, but now that I actually have the numbers, compared to everything else, trucking's kinda lackluster. Now I always enjoyed trucking, but I haven't been feeling the itch for it that I used to. And that's usually why it boils down to when I don't do a stream, it's just not feeling the itch for it. There was a glitch with Bloody Awful Games. For some reason Grimoire was listed as a terrible game here, so that skewed the results. We might as well just ignore this. People seem to really like the punishment games about as much as they like the one-shots themselves. Rune Factory and Harvest Moon's kinda interesting to me because there were tons of comments about how they really liked that, so people actually typing out the comments about how much they loved it. All in all, the numbers don't favour it, but I'm still going to do more of it. It's a promise. Co-op games, there hasn't been much of it. It's usually only been with Lucky or... really, there have been very few instances of this. Outbreak was a lot of fun though. I want to do more of it though. And spooky games again, oddly unpopular. Witch's House, Ao Oni. Ao Oni was a really popular thing at the time, but maybe part of that is that the good spooky games we did were like 2 years ago now, maybe. So a lot of people that have joined in those times have not seen those streams, which may make it worthwhile to jump over to this, which was for me one of the most interesting bits of feedback we got. So, and this was a contentious point for a lot of people, and I can imagine quite a lot of people just went Control W to close the browser because they did not want to rate every single Europa campaign, and this was mandatory. I knew it would be a pain in the ass. I am very familiar with pains in asses, and this is high up there. But a little thank you to everybody who actually did take the time to do this. Now, unsurprisingly, most of the old campaigns have a huge blue bar there. The main things to look out for are blue bar, which means it hasn't been seen, the red one that says it's rubbish, and then there's the purple one for loved it. I'm never a big fan of people that go for middle grounds. Swedes go for middle grounds every single day, and I already have to live with that. So let's just care about loving the rubbish and people that didn't see it. So early on, there's a bit of a surge for the mingles, but this was, if ever there was a crowning achievement that I did in terms of streaming, it was the mingles. This was the stream that put me on the map when it came to being a streamer. And again, I didn't advertise this. I just said on the stream, okay, we're going to do World Conquest as an OPM, and then that thing took off on its own. I remember seeing the Reddit pages, the forum posts, you know, I read all this crap, even if I don't jump in myself. And like I said, it put me on the map, and yet there's loads of people who, they care enough about this channel to answer this hugely long questionnaire, but they haven't seen some of this stuff. So what this kind of tells me is, maybe I should do more for my older streams, like polish them up on the YouTube playlist and like put out a summary about what the old ones are so people can watch them if they want. I don't really care what you go and see, but this does tells me that maybe there's not enough exposure in it out there. The World Conquest by Ryukyu, now there's one that most people are familiar with. It's the only thing I actually did a recap video for as well, so that probably helps. I feel bad for this one. That was a great race against Bane Williams, and a lot of these old ones, just people have not seen them. But then there are ones that really stand out. Battle Pope, oddly very popular there. Albania was super short, and I think it was contentious, because it was not really a campaign, was it? But then there were ones that really stuck out. This one's like really something that jumps out. That I just did because I was on a Bob Ross bender. But then Bad Ideas Guy comes along and just whacks everything down. I loved that campaign. It was probably the most fun I have ever had playing Europa Universalis. And it appears most people agree. Now, whether that was down to the campaign or actually influenced by me enjoying it, I think there's a bit of both to be had there. But all I'm saying is Bad Ideas Guy 2 may be coming shortly. We're trying to get the author of the original Bad Ideas to come along and work their magic. Love Bad Ideas Guy. It's all about the concept behind the campaign, says Densetsu. Well, there we go. Hormoz, I had fun with that, but it was more popular than I had actually imagined. Same with Manipur. A lot of people behind that. And then, of course, the most recent ones, go figure, are the ones that don't have a very high did not watch result. A lot of people asked for a more neutral option, like didn't really care about it. Like I said, I don't care so much about neutrals. I don't even care about these two that much. Okay, you didn't enjoy it, you kind of enjoyed it. I'm more about absolutes here. Was it rubbish? Well, a lot of people were not a big fan of Timbuktu 2, and I can see why. Even I grew tired and binned it, and then I got a lot of feedback saying, why did you bin it? There was no winning there, but I wasn't enjoying that campaign as it went on. Great early on, late on, no. Very Horde, it gets skewed because it was the most recent one at the time. So there's certainly some stuff to take away from here, I rather think. There's some stuff that can be done for old campaigns. And some notes to take away. Now, I haven't done some full analysis on this, but it could be that certain types of campaigns are more popular than others. But I'm not even sure I'm going to do that, because in the end, I do the campaigns that I want to enjoy, and I'm fairly certain if I don't enjoy them, neither you are unlikely to enjoy them as well, as can pretty much be seen in Timbuktu 2. It was the most rubbish out of all of them. How did Stop the Reformation fare? Says Red Armor. Where was Reformation? Here we go. A lot of people just did not watch it. It's a shame. It was Aristo's time to shine. But it was still more loved than any of the other things here. Probably all of them put together. Alright, so then I asked, even after voting on the last one, I asked you to tell me if you have a favourite campaign, which one and why. And this was telling. Bad Ideas Guy, Greater Denmark, Manipur Riku, Greater Denmark, Bad Ideas Guy. Timbuktu 2 oddly high up, but none of the old ones showing up here. Or at least not many of the old ones. Still, Bad Ideas Guy took first, second, and third place to this. So, again, that was my favourite. It was your favourite. Speaking generally, of course, that's the whole thing about the survey. I can't point and say, you, Revok. This is all about you. This is all about taking the data and mushing it together, so some finesse does get lost. That's just what you have to appreciate with this. Okay, here's one that I kinda knew the answer before I asked, but I wanted the numbers anyway. Do you like to see exploits in runs? Yes or no? Again, people wanted more middle ground questions. Again, I don't really care about the middle grounds. You either want to see them, or you do not want to see them. It's a pretty absolute question in my eyes. Now this is kind of difficult. I remember way back when I got employed by Paradox and I was like, oh, don't worry, my streams aren't going to change. Well, that was naive of me. They had to change. It is a bit of a conflict of interest. Let's say I picked up Cradle of Civilization on stream and then I immediately just started breaking the hell out of it. I'm pretty confident I could. I still have the magic touch. But there's a bit of, oh wow, that sounded so conceited. Forget I said that. The problem is there's a bit of a conflict of interest there. I am involved in making these games, and there is a problem if I go on and just break the whole game. Then I have to go back to my team and go, oh, by the way, I just broke everything we did in front of all these people. So, yeah, get to that. There is a problem there, and that's where I have to put either the stream first or the job first. And I kind of like working on these games, so, I'm not saying exploits are dead, I'm saying I'm not going to break new things into tiny little pieces. I always have an exploit or two up my sleeves. It might just take the game pushing me to extremes to break out those exploits. Besides, I've done lots of exploits in the past, and there are people today that are pretty good at doing exploit runs. And I'm pretty happy to pass the exploit hat off to them. I do have to balance making the game and breaking the game here. So when it comes to Europa campaigns, what do you like to see? Now this one had a whole lot of different answers, and I've read a lot of them. It was really kind of touching to see it. But in the end, people like to see the big challenges. Achievement runs also kind of popular. I don't know if that's from them wanting to see how to do an achievement, but or how I do it, but who knows. So challenge runs are pretty good or rather what they're what people like to see. And I enjoy massive challenges, so that works out kind of well. Quirky challenges, kind of halfway house there. I don't do much in the way of quirks. The only real quirks I have are don't ally France and don't take loans. But, well, Bad Ideas guy was kind of quirky, right? And then we have Jake dying. Unsurprising there, that might be why Manipur was so high up there. Playing tall, I put it in there to kind of test the waters. I don't do tall play. I don't think it makes for the most engaging of streams. Maybe I'm wrong, maybe I should try it someday. And then there's blobbing, really far down the list. And I do this more often recently than before, but when a campaign is done, when I have done what I set out to do, I usually end it there, maybe with a final fight against the Ottomans or Ming or whatever, and I just stop it there, because really, we've had our fun. Is there anything to gain by continuing to blob? Well, yeah, but just a little. That's why Very Horde ended where it did. I beat Ming, okay, I could mop up remains and form one and go and beat up other people, but no, we did it. We won. We got the cake. We managed to get the achievement. There wasn't much merit, in my eyes, to continue the blobbing. That in itself is contentious. I've had people coming to me saying, more, keep on going. But I think it is better for the campaigns to exit there, move on to something fresh and new. You might disagree, and that's exactly what this is for, but I feel a bit reassured knowing that people are coming more for these other things than just seeing the mindless blobbing. Zergle, however, says the fun in Manipur was watching the deep hatred for the Chinese. Well, everybody has their kinks, right? Lots of interesting little things. I love it all. See, some of these are just pure ego strokes, right? Of course. Then, a very rare case of me being egoistical here. When it comes to Jake, what about him brings you to the channel? Now, this is kind of a weird question for me to ask, because when I started all this, I did not even conceive the idea that I might personally bring something to all this. I just wanted to do streams, I wanted it to be about the game. I never want the streams to be about me. That's why there is no face cam, that's why there's no Jake Reacts 2. It's just me playing the games. So you only see the games and your own chat. Nonetheless, apparently people like my humor. I don't get that, but fair enough. And people come for the skills or lack thereof. I have always tried to play to the best of my abilities and things. I'm certainly very good at Europa, touch wood. But there are games that I play that I'm particularly bad at. That can kind of feel awkward, but I'm there to have fun, right? The voice is oddly high as well because, again, when I started all this, I never even considered that people would actually want to hear my voice. You always hear your own voice and go, oh God, it's hideous. But especially when I've done videos that are pretty much just talking and not much else, like those whiskey videos before. People are like, oh my God, it's ASMR, my ears are coming, stuff like that, which is a bit grotesque, but you still get the message across. Maybe there is something to be had there, but we'll see. There might be exploitation that could be done with this, but it's very important that I always talk like me. I never want to be playing to the microphone. I was going to say playing to the camera, but thank God we have that off and faced away. This is a number that I really wanted. So sometimes I actually get asked, are you reaping the benefits from your stream for being a Paradox developer? And I'm quick to say I don't think so, but that doesn't mean I know. At least now I have rock solid numbers that it doesn't matter to most people that I am a Paradox developer, which is good. You know, this stream is not about me being a developer, it's about me playing games and loving those games. So this is kind of reassuring. Although that does beg the question, you know, why would people come here because I'm a dev? They might be wanting those sweet leaks, but I'm pretty good at not leaking, or I'm pretty good at covering up said leaks. And then there's a whole bunch of other stuff that I have read, and some of them are kind of... Oh, this one I wanted to pick up on, right? Serenity is picked up, and I really want it to be a serene place. That's why there is no shouting, there is no swearing, and I'm big on that one. I think I have sworn... Off the top of my head, I can think of 2 times that I have ever sworn on stream, and we are keeping it that way. The PG-13 is no meme around here, right? I want this to be a serene place. It's not meant to be acting like a monkey for whatever reason, so We're keeping that, and that is never changing, even if 0% of people are saying Serenity. It gets said in various other ways. Of course, I wonder if Serenity marries the idea of being blunt. What would blunt Serenity be? I think it would be like a hammer made out of warm water. What in the world is doggedness in pursuing his goals? We certainly saw that one yesterday. God, the Iobids one's pretty fun. Other grand strategy games. So whilst I have played Hearts of Iron, and to a lesser extent Stellaris on the stream, I wanted to get a feel for how people felt about the grand strategy games in general. Stellaris was the only one that people wanted less than they actually wanted. That sentence made no sense. Stellaris was less popular than it was more whatever. The red beat the blue on Stellaris. People wanted none of it. There's Hoi. Hoi is hugely popular. There is, speaking in a business sense, I guess, a massive demand for Hearts of Iron videos out there. And if I was all about the money, and people like to say I am, then I would be churning out nothing but Hoi content. But really, I wouldn't want to make so much of that. I play Hoi when I want, when I feel the itch for it. And that is, well, not as often as I feel it for Europa. Then, of course, there's Crusader Kings. This is almost certainly not going to happen. When it comes to games, I like to play as the nation, the state, the economy, the driving force. I don't really care so much about individuals, so you wouldn't... I mean, maybe I'm completely wrong. Maybe we will try it someday. It's good to try new things. Again, like I said, the point of this was to reflect on being conceited. Because even though I try not to, I'm sure I am very conceited in ways, so maybe this is a wake-up call to actually try some different things. I wrote myself a little takeaway document from what I saw on this, and really, this is something I should be taking away. I haven't tried it. Same goes to good old Vicky. Great game, by the way. Well, great. We'll put it there. Maybe there is something to be picked up on here. I haven't shown off my incredible Vicky skills on stream before. But yes, this is something to take away, so if you do want to see Vicky or Crusader Kings, then you've made your voice heard here. I will ponder this. You know, I'm not so unapproachable. At least I like to think I'm not so unapproachable that you can't fire me a message to tell me about these kinds of things. Like if you said, man, Jake, I really want to see you take Prussia in Victoria and curb stomp the world, or I want you to do like a Icelandic colonization of here, there, and everywhere. And just send me a message, it can be inspiring. Okay, this is something to take away. I will be thinking about these. Hearts of Iron I have done and will continue to do when I feel the itch, which probably won't be often. Stellaris, just you wait until all the changes, excuse me, which have been talked about in the Dev Diaries come into fruition. Then I think you'll see this one grow. The best way to approach Jake is to buy a ticket at PDXCon, says Nitro. He's not wrong. That is a guaranteed way to actually meet me. Facecam does not get used on Jake's streams. Would you like it to be used? Overwhelming majority saying absolutely not, and some people saying absolutely. I got pestered a bit about there being a lack of a middle option here. Again, I deal in absolutes here. Do you want Facecam? Yes or no? And thankfully most people say no, because I have been told, oh, you know, you could do it in a tasteful way. Give yourself a green screen a little bit in the corner and then you'll be there. And I'm like, what does that bring to the channel? And there are answers to that. It could be like, oh, but we get to see your reaction when the Ottomans declare war, or when the Ottomans take the mission to conquer Mesopotamia and actually get your land, or conquer Eastern Anatolia. Yes, okay, maybe that'll bring something for you, but that is not something that I want on the channel. This is not about me. So this is not going to change, even if this said 99%. I want Facecam. Even if people were saying, I will not subscribe unless you get a Facecam, I don't care. I do not even remotely care. We're not going to get it. This, however, was not used as a filter, as some people might have thought. Some people might have suspected that if I put on this question and they answered affirmative, then I would just scrap their answers completely. I don't. I'm open-minded enough for that. It's still not happening, though. The one time we did Facecam was with the anime girl on the trucking, and that was because Feche purchased that for me. Had to give it a run. Footcam is okay, because that is an integral part of DDR. Otherwise I could just use my fingers, you'd be none the wiser. Jake, I like to get your reactions by your voice. Also, when you slap your fingers, it's great as well. Slap your what? Slap? You mean when I snap my fingers? What do I know? Jake, even if 90% of people wanted Facecam, you would still not do it? Correct. How long do you like YouTube videos and Twitch highlights to be? Okay, this one was important to me because like I've said before, I really find making the content for YouTube to be a pain in the ass. Let me talk a bit about the process that's involved there. So I do the stream, which has its usual setup, okay? I grab OPS, I capture everything. Let's say it's Europa. I'm going to capture Twitch chat, and I'm going to capture the game. Nice and simple. Sometimes it's a bit more complex than that. I need the timer, images, more text on it, sorted out. Sometimes layering it's a bit of a pain, but it's simple. I get it strung up, I go live, and then I start, and I say, good afternoon, welcome to the 2 Hours of Hell. Today we're running this, or welcome back to Very Horde. I'm feeling the need to finally crush Muscovy. Stuff like that. I do the stream, I finish it up, and I'm like, that was good. Sometimes it's like 5 hours, sometimes it's 12 hours. We finish up, and then the heavy realization of having to put it on YouTube comes. So I go and I cut it up into 30-minute chunks, which is a manual process on Twitch. Each of them get their own header, and I cut it. Okay, this is from minute 5 to minute 30, then another one, minute 30 to minute 60, minute 60 to minute 90. Rinse and repeat. I cut up 167 videos for Patrician that way. It took a very long time, except like one of them was 9 hours long. So I wanted to get feedback on how this went. Oh yeah, then I uploaded cover image, schedule, playlist. The more I talk about it, the more I realize it's a huge pain in the rear end. But what you gonna do? So I wanted to know, since I'm doing that for the people that watch on YouTube, which as we saw earlier, no, is it gonna get me up here? There we go. It's a lot of people. It's 91.3% of the people that answered this, and a lot of people answered this. I wanted to know more from you. Is the way we're doing it right, or should it be changed? Most people like what we currently do, which is a half-hour length. That works for me. I find it pretty digestible. 15 minutes is a way that it could actually be automated, but nobody wants that. It's probably more profitable to do it that way, but when it comes to YouTube, I just want whatever's simple and works. Some people only watch live, fair enough. A reasonable chunk of people wanted the whole thing with no cutting, and then some people wanted longer streams, but most people want how we normally do it, and that's okay. Getting answers that still conform to what you do is still great feedback. It tells you you're on the right track. It's easy to think you're on the right track, but that is where conceit is coming in from. Now, Shame for Desprez says, Jake, isn't it possible to automate at least a part of it? That would be really nice. If you know how to automate the process, please tell me. You would save me a lot of sanity and time. Now I'm getting some feedback from the chat, so forgive me if I'm not diving into that because I want to focus on the questionnaire here. It's as good a time to mention that the original plan was to make a video out of this and just post it on YouTube, but I am much more comfortable doing things live, and I really didn't want to have to like write up a script to talk about or do takeovers when I mess up words, which does sometimes happen. I don't like it. When I do YouTube videos, it's usually done in one shot, but sometimes it isn't, and I go in the middle and I just go blah, 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 blah. And I find that doesn't happen when I do things live. I could probably stand to work on that, but just about everything I do is live. I kind of lost my train of thought there, but the point is I wanted to answer this survey live, and that's about as far as it goes. Alright, monetization questions now. This is where I turn full shill. So it gave me some interesting numbers on people who watch this and actually do some monetary support to the channel. Now that's kind of interesting because the Patreon and subscriber numbers are pretty inflated here compared to what I'm pretty sure is the reality. But it's always worth reinforcing that these streams have never been done for money, and hopefully will never be done for money. Money is a very captivating thing, especially to me. You know, I'm Scottish, I love all these economic simulators, but deep down, these are done for fun rather than anything else. So maybe people just think they do, but they don't? What do I know? But what I mostly wanted to know is why people do this. So, all my stuff is free. When you support the channel, what do you get? You get some emotes, which if you use too much, you're likely to get banned. I always remember, what was his name? Infectus Byzant, some Byzantium lover guy. Subscribed, immediately spammed emotes, banned. You know, that's what subscribing gets you around here. Banned, isn't it great? So I was like, why? Why do you do this? You get to submit punishment games. If you go on Patreon, there are some rewards available there, but they're quickly snapped up and kind of underutilized, to be honest. I need to think more on how to grow that, but that's where the next question comes in here. But again, most people do it as support, which is heartwarming, really. On the other hand, it makes me think, what about the benefits are so rubbish that nobody wants them? Well, I kind of went over them. You get banned for them. Isn't that lovely? But there's a lot of other motivations that I read, and believe me when I said I read through every single one of them. Then there was the next really probing question. If you do not currently support the stream, is there anything that would motivate you to do so? And I put not impoverished in the title, and so many people said not impoverished. This was a real eye-opener. Did you know every single Brazilian is impoverished? I checked it out, and would you believe it? And then, what else was there? What else was there? I found it kind of funny, but all the impoverished people, lots of students as well. That was pretty good. There is something to be said though for opening up more influence on what gets streamed, and that's tricky because it's difficult to marry giving people the opportunity to contribute towards what gets streamed and the pillar of I stream what I want and when I want. There must be a way to marry that. I will find a way. Now finally I asked, I don't think it's even streaming, it's going far down enough here. Well, whatever. Thanks for answering this obnoxiously large survey, and I might as well say that again because really, thank you. If you have any additional comments to the stream, make them here, otherwise have a nice day. I love that Heart came out on top, and there were lots of people who just said, you have a nice day, keep up the good work and all that. There was a lot of things that really patted me on the head and gave my ego a much needed polish, because when I stream games live, my ego gets put through the ringer. I play the game that is the one thing I really had. You know, I was the best at Europa, hands down. Not anymore. I mean, it's the curse of being a dev and the skill level growing. Not anymore, but still. But one thing I'm particularly good at, and I get put through the ringer a lot in that game. It's a good thing that I kind of enjoy that, or at least don't mind it, but it's still nice to get a bit of a pat on the back sometimes. Still, there were a lot of excellent bits of feedback, and as I said, I read every single one of these. And I want to take a few of the key points of interest that I took away from these. I made myself a little document of things to actually ponder over. I don't think any of them are going to make any huge immediate changes to the channel, but just some subtle things, so you don't have to worry about this suddenly becoming a Minecraft and Overwatch channel overnight. One of the first things that all this feedback gave me was a huge flood of nostalgia. I still remember fondly back to doing streams like Ramazan and the Aztecs, where there was like 5 to 20 people watching. Hell, I remember my first stream of Rescue Embassy Mission. And this gave me a lot of nostalgia for people that are no longer with us today, and I know some of them did answer this questionnaire. There are people that immediately come to mind, like 270 and Yed Rello, And without sounding too mushy, like, I do miss these people. I also know why a lot of people that were around early kind of left. The channel has changed a lot from what it was 3+ years ago. I do my level best to resist that change, but there's only so much you can do when you have 100 times the amount of people that you initially did watching. I try to keep it humbled, I try to not keep it conceited, but again, you know, this survey is kind of here as a way to ground ourselves as well. There were a lot of suggestions that came in, with suggestions to axe certain streams due to them not really being popular or having the uptake. This I outright reject, even though it was probably well meant. It doesn't matter to me, in the interest of streaming something, whether it's popular or not. DDR is a great example of that. Hell, the Resi 5 run is a testament to that. It doesn't matter, I'm still doing what I enjoy, and that is the fundamental of the channel. And it is something that I am not willing to concede on. If I did my channel purely by what is popular, at least for this channel, this would be a Hearts of Iron and a Europa Universalis channel. And I'd probably start tapping that sweet Minecraft and Overwatch money. Not happening. Oh man, how about PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds? Still, not happening. I reject that answer, although I do appreciate the feedback. The next one's kind of difficult to say, but there was a lot of people, a disturbingly large amount of people, that explicitly expressed their love for Patrician 4 in this part. And it's difficult for me to say that that many people did it just to be sarcastic, especially when everything else they said was pretty on the bar there. So I have mixed feelings about that. I love doing Patrician 4, but I think I can see it in the chat right now. I hate Patrician 4. It gave me a big smile on my face, if nothing else. There were a lot of questions in this that actually asked me, how did I come to join Paradox? I found that like a kind of strange question to see here. It's a story I've been over quite a few times, but considering that it was asked quite a lot, and this is the channel survey feedback stream, I guess it wouldn't hurt to answer. I fell in love with Europa Universalis 3 when I found it, then EU4 came out. I invested so much of my life into that game, and eventually good old Tandy Man, he pops in from time to time, he taught me how to stream, and I started streaming Europa because, hey, it was the game that I loved. I gave a little story about why I started streaming in the first place as well. I'd watched so many speedruns and the AGDQ, SGDQ marathons that I wanted to return the debt. I must have watched like 100 hours of content, so I decided if I returned that favor by having 100 hours worth of people watching me, then I'd clear that debt. And it just took off from there, and eventually I went to 1 or 2 Paradox meetups. I remember Gamescom Cologne. I met the devs, they were pretty awesome. And when a position opened up in Paradox for QA, I applied. I wrote the cockiest CV you could ever imagine. I'm pretty sure it contained the words "I'm the best" in it. And against all common sense and decency, they hired me. And I worked on from there. I loved doing QA, but I got offered a designer role. And as of a couple months ago, wait, what's the date today? Oh well, last month I became director, so that's my story of zero to hero. Hope that was enlightening if you were one of the questions that asked that. Mini Air asks, how did you switch from QA to game director? I did QA for quite some time. That was under the reign of Wiz. Maybe reign is the wrong way to put it. But when he stepped away, I stepped in to fill his boots when it came to design. If you particularly liked Rights of Man or Mandate of Heaven or Third Rome or any of the patches and updates that came between them, then I will happily take, I don't know, take creative compliments on that. If you didn't like them, then go see somebody else. I'm very good at displacing blame. But that went well, and I got told, hey, you'll be the director now. Kaboom. Jake, you forget the part when Johan paid people to kill you. Yeah, that failed, so when he ran out of people to kill me, that's how you work your way up. Okay, let's move on from that. I don't want to derail it too much here. There were lots of people that posted in saying they didn't know that I had a Patreon. Now this I can only blame myself on because I hate advertising myself. I can advertise something else fine. I advertise our game all the time. Hell, I do it professionally. But I hate advertising myself. That's why I never post about my streams or accomplishments. If you've ever seen like a posting on Reddit or Grand Strategy General or anything like that of my stuff, it's never been me. I hate doing that stuff. Which means when I actually put up a Patreon and gave people this place where they could actually spend their money on me, which is still a bizarre concept to me, I put a link on my channel, I made a video about it, and I was like, that is it. I'm already feeling not myself by doing this. Maybe I just have to swallow it? I'm unsure what to do there, because there's just something about it that I can't stand. Let's say I was going to do... okay, let's take the Ryukyu run. Not the Ryukyu run. Let's take the Mingles run as an example. Huge thing I was going to do, never been done before, massive exploits, and I could not bring myself to post a single advertisement about it, because I just can't stand doing that. I'm not sure if I could change doing that, but still, if you don't know I have one, it's in the channel. I will probably... well, what I've started doing with my videos now is actually posting links to various things. The Discord, the Twitch channel, the Patreon, the Twitter. I mean, that is already uncomfortably far for me to step in terms of self-advertisement. Just not a fan. Push self-advertising onto your mods, Jake. Now that's even worse. It's one thing not to advertise yourself, but actually telling other people to do it, can't freaking stand it. Man, Jake, thanks for getting away with Regency Council. Much love, yeah, no sweat. Jake, you said you wouldn't derail yourself and immediately did that in the next sentence. I'm good at doing that, don't you worry. Alright, well, let's move along then. Another thing that we got in this, and yeah, there were so many different things here. Some of them gave great big walls of text to read through on the additional comments for the stream. A lot of people had game suggestions in this one, and this is where I realized I kind of have to open up more ways for people to suggest games or get games on the channel. Patreon has that, but as I said, it's really underutilized. There are some tiers that people can pay to get that, but it fills up like that, and I even find like a lot of people don't use them for some reason. So I mean, it's hard for me to complain. It's support for me, and what do? Well, I'm not even told what to do. But there are other people that go, I want to do this, and they're not. And I like to play new games, so it's difficult. I need to come up with a good solution on that. If you're a clever person and you have good solutions, then tell me, because I'm always open to good ideas. I'm also open to bad ideas, so if you have those, send them my way. Often a bad idea only sounds like a bad idea, but in practice it's really good. I know that's true because the opposite is definitely true. Stardew Valley was a game that got mentioned a lot. Good news for anybody that said that, Stardew Valley will be coming to the channel. It's been on the to-do list for many months, and it will come. I think my main gripes with the game have been fixed. Well, I hear on the grapevine that they have been. One bit of feedback that I want to act on immediately is don't spoil weekly one-shot in the images. Yeah, that is completely my oversight, and I'm not going to be posting up. I'll probably have them all have the happy Silver Surfer on them, rather than happy or sad. And another thing people requested quite a lot in this was they want Scottish Twitter 2.0. I only did that one because it seemed like a good idea on what might have been an inebriated evening. And it was fun. I don't know if I'll do another one. Maybe maybe no. That about concludes what I wanted to say about this survey. So if you have anything you want to say that relates to this survey or the questions or something else you want to say, now is the time. I'll give it a few minutes. Also, I take a much needed break. This went on for approximately 40 minutes longer than I expected it to. Jings, it's past 10 o'clock. Lake Daimonos says, let people message you with ideas, pick 5, do okay. I'm not going to take ideas and suddenly implement them from the chat here. Send me a message on Twitch or on whatever channel you prefer. Just don't send me whispers, those are the devil's kith and kin. The Scottish Twitter video was wrong, it's like hearing your favourite teacher swear. I did swear in that, but I don't have a problem swearing when it's reading literature, I suppose. I mean, I read Mice and Men. I didn't have a problem with that one. Dinner Fork wants us to reprise the ActRaiser 2 marathon. It brought people together. Yes, I would love it if more people in the chat would actually get involved in things like that, but it's difficult to. ActRaiser really broke the mold in that one. What's the magical Discord server and where do I find it? Says Clogsman. Somebody should be able to link you up there. And then Worm just says, thanks for all the work and streams. We all appreciate it. I'm not sure if everyone does, but I'm happy that some people do. Would Jake like OTT again? Is that Open Transport Tycoon? Yes and no. Mostly yes, but also no. Is it possible to show nationalities involved in the survey? Yeah, we can go back up to that. No problem there whatsoever. If we find the right spot for it. Americans, Germans, British, Canadians, Swedish, Dutch. I really lamented some of the lack of options in this. I couldn't do a checklist for every single country in the world, but it would have been nice to have a map that people could point to. Because that way, you know, USA wouldn't get mixed up with US or America or Burger. UK, Dane, Portugal. And there we go, 5 people answered Burger on nationality. That's more than 0.1% of people. Plenty of Latvians. I like that. I actually love Latvia. It's a good place. Jake, I didn't fill out the survey, and I really didn't watch your Twitch in general, but I knew you were around. The other day I woke up, got on my phone, and for whatever reason watched your stream for hours without getting out of bed. Been enjoying them so far. That's the kind of heartwarming feedback. But heartwarming isn't always what you need to succeed, or at least improve. Can you post the results of the survey? I'd love to see all the data. No, some of it had identifying information that is probably not a good idea to share, so no. I'm willing to show you everything that we have here, which is all the aggregated data, but that's as far as I'm willing to go with this. And then there's questions about mods and favourite weekly one-shot and 2 Hours of Hell. And you should check out the people who voted DDR. Only the DDR people matter. Check what they want to do. There's certainly more analysis to be done on this, but this is the broad spectrum that we got from it. Okay. Lots of questions coming in, but I have a question for you. What should we play now? If you answer Death Road to Canada, then